Paul Manafort's fraud trial is off with a bang, and the President of the United States is certainly paying attention. 4 tweets in 30 minutes, 1 tweet distancing himself from his former campaign manager, and then this tweet. This is what the president wrote. This is a terrible situation, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now before it continues to stain our country any further. Yes, the president is appealing directly to his own AG to stop the Mueller investigation. Stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. In the meantime, Manafort is back in a Virginia courtroom, and it sounds like he knows how to spend. The prosecutor ticked off a list during opening statements. A $15,000 jacket made of ostrich, several $5 million rugs, 7 homes paid for in cash, and a $21,000 watch, just to name a few. But that ostrich jacket is the real standout. Jezebel magazine imagined it might look like this. Everybody's wondering, what is an ostrich jacket? Attorney Bob Bianchi joins me now. Bob, we laugh about this ostrich jacket, but there is a reason that prosecutors are painting such a picture of Mr. Manafort. What picture do they want to paint?
Well, they want to paint a picture that most people have 1 or 2 bank accounts. They work very hard. They pay their taxes. And here's a guy with 30 bank accounts across various countries in which money allegedly is being laundered to be able to support this lavish lifestyle that no one else could afford. And that goes from everything. You got to understand, when we talk about laundering, Carol, we're talking about money from these foreign accounts that's being used as income, if you will, in the United States. Everything from these ostrich jackets, $15,000 watches, to paying even his housekeepers and his gardeners. But in the middle of all that laundering, he never had to pay taxes. So this is something emotionally, viscerally, with a jury, they are not going to like. And plus, the last point, Carol, is it says, how can Manafort say that Gates is the problem and he had no idea when it was his accounts from foreign countries that he was lying about on his tax form?
Let's just make that clear. When you mentioned Rick Gates, right? Rick Gates was a business partner of Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort's defense team is going to blame the tax problems and the tax fraud problems on Rick Gates, right? It's all his fault. Paul Manafort didn't know anything about it. Is that a good strategy? And will prosecutors put Rick Gates on the stand? Should they?
Carol, that is a great tactical lawyer question. There is so much information in this indictment, specific allegations, where not only can Manafort be the only person that could have perpetrated these alleged frauds, the accountants are asking Manafort specifically on multiple years, on multiple tax forms, do you have foreign bank accounts? No, I don't. He at one time wanted a property and loss statement altered to get a real estate transaction. So I don't see how the government can lose this case, Carol. So that gets to the point. As a trial prosecutor, I want to drive Manafort to the witness stand. And when the prosecution ever puts on a potentially compromised witness, that is Gates, the whole case can become about Gates. If you don't put Gates on, there is sufficient evidence for a conviction in this case. And that, Carol, tactically forces the defendant to take the witness stand. And if so, if they believe, the prosecutors, that they need Gates anyway, they could call him in a rebuttal case. And look, they know their file better than I do, but I've been around the block a lot, and as a prosecutor myself, I have not used cooperating witnesses for this very reason. I'd love to see them do this because it would really knock the wind out of the sails to the defense, because they wouldn't have Gates to cross-examine.
Okay, so I have to ask you about the president's tweet this morning. He tweeted about Manafort. He distanced himself. He said, you know, he was my campaign manager for maybe 5 days, when actually it was 5 months. Just, you know, I want to get the facts out there. But this is the tweet that caught everyone's attention from the president this morning. He said, Attorney General Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now. The president said it was a terrible situation. It's staining our country. But Jeff Sessions should stop this rigged witch hunt right now. Now, we know that Robert Mueller is looking over the president's tweets, looking for evidence of obstruction of justice. In other words, to stop the Mueller investigation. Doesn't this play right into Mueller's hand, this tweet?
These tweets are all playing into sense. I said many years ago when eventually he gave that interview to Lester Holt, I said right on TV that day, trust me, an obstruction of justice file has been opened in this case. I'm not saying he's guilty of it, but when he did that and had that meeting with Kislyak and those folks in the White House and said that getting rid of Comey alleviated the tension in the investigation, that's a problem. And then these tweets are all showing political muscle and an attempt to rally a base in order to discredit the Mueller investigation, and that's what prosecutors will bring all together in a mosaic, Carol, to say there was a corrupt purpose in the firing of Mueller. That's where I would be going as a prosecutor. He would be wise to do nothing, say nothing, stop tweeting, because these are what we call statements against interest that are admissible in and of themselves. Last point, Carol, it's unfortunate that we're also talking about that the Manafort indictment is a sham, because let's be clear about this. As a prosecutor, if I'm investigating a case and I find widespread bank fraud, tax fraud, millions of dollars that are being laundered, I have an obligation to bring that case, because there are people that are doing far less every day in every court in the United States that are having charges like this brought against them and being convicted, that it was found you started with one investigation and you found something in another.
Okay, well, we'll keep everyone posted. It's going to get interesting today as we get into the testimony in the Manafort trial. Bob Bianchi, thank you so much.
You got it, Carol.
Strong